people's mindsets are strong. Despite poverty, they are strong enough to stand up and be counted. For them, Gammantha has been a source of strength for over a decade. Gammantha, by the people, for the people.
කතාවයි ක්‍රියාවයි අතර වෙනස අහවර නොවන මෙහෙවර ජාතික මෙහෙවර
මේ තියෙන කෘෂිකර්මාන්තයේ ප්‍රශ්න
පහුණාට කමක් නැහැ ගොවිතැන් කරන්න අපි වන්දි දෙනවා වී වල ඉහළ මිලක් දෙනවා ලෝකෙ නැති කතන්දර හිටපු ඇමතිවරු කිව්වා
ලෝකෙ කිසි රටක කෘෂිකර්මාන්තයේ අඩාල වෙලා නැහැ චීනය ජපානය වගේ රටවල ගොයියට සහන ක්‍රම දීලා ඒ ගොයියා ගොවිතැනෙන් ගලවගෙන තියෙනවා
ඔබේ ආගම රට මේක තිබ්බොත් ඔබ ජීවත් වේ අපි බොහෝ දේවල් ක්‍රියාවට නැංගිය යුතු කාලය ලැබිලා තියෙනවා
හැම කෙනෙකුටම පුළුවන් ටූරිසම් වලට දායක වෙන්න. ලංකාව වටේට මුහුද තියෙනවා. ලංකාවේ කිසිම තැනක විදේශිකයෙකුට කන්න සී ෆුඩ් එකක් නැහැ.
වැඩකට ඇති කතාබහක ඉඩකඩ සතිය දිනවල උදෑසන 10:00ට TV1 ඔස්සේ
A very good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News here on TV1, bringing you the news. I am Ruhaza Irfan. Before we move on with our bulletin, here's a look at your headlines for this afternoon.
Fuel queues at Sipetco filling station after distributors step away. President declares the supply and delivery of fuel as essential services. Opposition wants Professor Charita Herath in cope.
ඒක හිතාමතාම චේතනාන්විතව කරපු දෙයක් කියන එක පැහැදිලි. ඒ වෙනුවට අර මොළහතාගේ ගෝලියෝ ටිකක් තමයි ඒකේ පුරවලා තියෙන්නේ.
Vimal questions the agreement reached with IMF.
ඇයි ඒ ගිවිසුම මේ සභාවට ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ නැත්තේ? කරුණාකර ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමනි මේකට පිළිතුරු දෙන්න.
ගරු තවම ගිවිසුමකට අවතීර්ණ වෙලා නැහැ. එකඟතා ගිවිසුම පිළිබඳ කෙටුම්පතක් පමණයි තිබෙන්නේ.
Retirement age at state-owned enterprises is now 60 years.
Now on to your top story this afternoon. The Petroleum Distributors Association has decided to withdraw from the placement of orders of fuel from 8 a.m. today. This is due to a dispute regarding a commission scheme that has been offered to TIM, the Petroleum Corporation.
අද දින වෙනකොට අපිට කන්ජල් සංස්ථාවේ බෙදුම්කරුවන් හැටියට ඊටම කනගාටුදායක තත්ත්වයක්.
As of today, as the distributors of the CPC were facing a disappointing situation. A letter was issued yesterday by the managing director stating that we are recharging nearly 45% from the commissions that were granted. Around 300 to 400,000 were deducted yesterday itself. None of the filling stations have the ability to place orders by finding funds so quickly. There's an agreement with the CPC and the filling station owners. According to this agreement, they cannot issue such letters. The question is, why are they doing this? They're trying to reduce our commissions by planning and sending letters. We went to courts and argued, and an injunction order was issued. Because of the injunction order, instead of trying to reduce the commissions, they're trying to recover up to 45% of this. This is unfair.
උදලෙන් 145කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් නැවත ආපහු ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. මේක ඊටම අසාධාරණයි.
However, the private Bowser Owners Union says the union will distribute the stocks of fuel that have already been ordered. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijayasekara says that the fuel supply will not be affected by the trade union action of the Petroleum Distributors Association. The minister tweeted and requested the public not to be swayed by deceitful statements.
With the decision of the Petroleum Distributors Association to suspend their orders, queues were seen in many filling stations across the island today. Long queues to get petrol were seen near Sipetco filling stations in Anuradhapura this morning. Long queues were seen at filling stations in Colombo as well. Fuel queues were seen at several Sipetco filling stations in Kurunegala. Our reporter stated that there was no fuel available in some filling stations in Ambalangoda. Long queues were seen at filling stations in the areas as well. The Ministry of Power and Energy says that payments have not been made for 2 shipments of diesel and crude oil that reached Sri Lankan shores recently. The ministry said that the shipment includes 40,000 metric tons of diesel and 100,000 metric tons of crude oil. In the meantime, 37,000 metric tons of petrol was unloaded yesterday from a ship that arrived earlier. The ministry also went on to note that the shipment of 11,000 metric tons of jet fuel is being unloaded.
The Sri Lankan government has declared a number of essential services via an extraordinary gazette.
Accordingly, the following services have been declared as essential by order of the President and signed by the Secretary to the President. All services connected to the supply of electricity, the supply of distribution of petroleum products and fuel, all service, work or labour of any description whatsoever, necessary or required to be done in connection with the maintenance and the reception, care, feeding and treatment of patients in hospitals, nursing homes, dispensaries and other similar institutions have been declared as essential.
The report on coal procurement by the Committee on Public Finance was presented to the Parliament on Tuesday.
Honourable Speaker, I present the report of the Committee on Public Finance on the special audit report regarding the evaluation of the procurement process implemented for the purchase of coal required for the period 2022 to 2025 for the Norachola coal plant, which was referred to the said committee. I also present the report of the Committee on Public Finance on order under the Strategic Development Project Act number 14 of 2008, order under the Excise Special Provisions Act number 13 of 1989, and regulations under the Imports and Exports Control Act number 1 of 1969, which were referred to the said committee.
MP Vimal Veeravansa made a request in Parliament today to table the IMF staff level agreement.
The government has reached a staff level agreement with the IMF. The people of this country should know about this agreement. The Parliament needs to know. Why aren't you tabling this in Parliament? Doesn't the country need to know about the conditions of this? Prime Minister, please provide answers to this. We haven't reached any agreement yet. There's only a draft document. The committee will be able to provide in-depth details in the future. According to some of the statements made by the IMF officials, unless the news is misleading us, it is clearly mentioned that a staff level agreement has been reached. That's why we're asking this. If you're responsibly stating that there's no such agreement, then we will accept that. But the statement said the agreement was reached.
The Colombo Stock Exchange was halted once again on Tuesday for 5 minutes.
The market was halted for 5 minutes from 10:11 a.m. to 10:16 a.m. The CSE said it will conduct an auction session for a duration of 25 minutes from 10:16 a.m. to 10:41 a.m. Thereafter, the regular trading session commenced at 10:41 a.m.
Sri Lanka's Auditor General has requested that the tender to procure coal for the Norachola power plant from 2022 to 2025 did not follow the approved procurement process.
The tender to provide coal from 2022 to 2025 was awarded to a company named Black Sands. However, this company was not registered at the time. It was SOEC AG that was registered. So the question is, how was the tender awarded to a company that was not registered? This is not something that we can investigate, so we requested the Auditor General to conduct an investigation. According to the AG, the procurement process did not follow the government-approved procurement guidelines. It says the opportunity to award all suitable and interested parties with a just and equal process was violated. The Auditor General's observation will be tabled in Parliament. Lanka Coal Private Limited announced that tenders were called for to procure coal on Monday, noting that the deadline to submit bids is the 25th of October. Lanka Coal Private Limited also said that an emergency purchase tender was also called for, with the deadline set for 20th October 2022. At the same time, 2 vessels with coal shipments are to reach Sri Lankan shores on the 25th and 30th of October 2022, and each vessel will transport a shipment of 60,000 metric tons of coal. Sri Lanka has made 30% of the payment for these vessels, which is approximately $6.4 million. Lanka Coal Private Limited said the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has agreed to settle the remaining 70% after shipments reach Sri Lankan shores. Lanka Coal Private Limited said the shipments will suffice for around 20 days, and after 25th of October, another 8 coal shipments will reach Sri Lanka.
Former Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara has raised an alarm over the proposed Bureau of Rehabilitation.
This type of rehabilitation will create great injustice to a person who is charged with a minor offence in court, as that person can be influenced unnecessarily. If that person pleads guilty, he will be sent for rehabilitation. They're trying to prepare the needs of the government. They're trying to tell the youth that messing with the government is a mistake and that would lead to rehab. So when the matter is taken to court, the person is influenced to plead guilty. This is against the law.
A group of animal welfare activists and members of the environmental organization protested opposite the Ministry of Wildlife and Forest Conservation in Colombo yesterday.
The protesters demanded that the government should adopt only scientific methods to control the animals that damage the crops.
They made a statement that they are going to give guns to the farmers, and this protest is against that. The minister is there to protect the animals. This is the only ministry that's supposed to care about animals. The minister is there to protect wild animals. It's very sad that a person who is in charge to protect the animals is now killing the animals. Monkeys, chipmunks and wild boars are species of animals evolved for forest protection. Because of them, buffer zones are formed in the forest. It's sad to suggest killing animals without suggesting scientific solutions to this.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa told Parliament that Dr. Harsha De Silva, who was named as a member of the Committee on Public Enterprises, will step down and will be replaced by former COPE chairman Professor Charitha Herath. He requested that the Speaker to allow the opposition to take charge of the Committee on Public Enterprises. However, he said that attempts are being made to deny the opposition of the post of chairman of both the Committee on Public Enterprises and the Committee on Public Accounts. SLFP MP Dayasiri Jayasekara also revealed that it was agreed to name him as COPE. However, when the list was made available, name was not included. Moving on, the Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to revise the mandatory requirement age of employees state-owned enterprises to 60 years and issues a circular in this regard with effect from the 1st of January 2023. A statement from the Department of the Government Information noted that the Cabinet also decided to issue a circular in this regard with effect from the 1st of January 2023. It added that as proposed by the Supplementary Budget 2022 passed by Parliament, the compulsory retirement age of employees serving the state-owned enterprises is to be revised as 60 years. In addition, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the memorandum submitted by President Ranil Wickremesinghe for the establishment of the Food Policy Committee to monitor the supply chains within the country as well as short-term issues prevailing with regard to the supply, prices and marketing, with the view to implement the mechanism formally and effectively and to implement other long-term programs. If you are just joining Newsfirst Lunchtime News, here's a quick look at your headlines. Fuel queues are being witnessed at Sipetco filling stations after distribution steps away. President declares the supply and delivery of fuel as essential services. Opposition warns Professor Charitha Herath in COPE. Vimal Veeravansa questions the agreement reached with IMF. Retirement age at state-owned enterprises is now 60 years. You have the latest on all our stories on www.newsfirst.lk. Gammadha for the people, by the people. The 6th phase of the Gammadha door-to-door program will commence on Wednesday, and the program was launched at the Capital Maharaja Group premises.
Gammada is well known among all Sri Lankans, young and old, as the people's force that brings about a new beginning for the villages and towns of Sri Lanka. Gammada, by the people, for the people, implements these projects by identifying the real needs of the local populations. The needs of the people were identified following an extensive and streamlined study of the findings by the Gammada door-to-door program that was implemented 5 times before, along with the University of Peradeniya. The COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis have forced the people of Sri Lanka to undergo various hardships. Gammada is ready once again to identify the socio-economic issues of the people of Sri Lanka. The 6th edition of the Gammada door-to-door program was launched on Tuesday in the midst of religious observances.
ගොඩක් සතුටු වෙන්න පුළුවන් දවසක්. 6 වෙනි වතාවටත් ගම්මැද්ද වැඩසටහන.
Today is a joyous day for all of us. These youth are ready to engage in the Gammada door-to-door initiative for the 6th time. I bless you all to be able to achieve your objectives and be kept out of harm's way.
සිද්ධ කරගන්නට අවශ්‍ය කරන ආශිර්වාදයයි අපේක්ෂා කරන්නේ. තුනුරුවන්ගේ ගුණ සිහිපත් කරමින් ඔයත්තන්ට ආශිර්වාද කරනවා සෙත් පතනවා. අපිට මේ ගුණානුභාව බලයෙන් යහපතක් සෙතක් සාන්තියක් මුදා වේවා ගැන අපි ප්‍රශංසාත්මකව කතා කරන්නේ.
We the people must look into this matter now. The politicians have completely evaded these matters as they are only interested in allocating public funds for the benefit of their ulterior motives. Against such a backdrop, it is of great virtue that such an initiative is being launched in these trying times.
මම අපි අදහන දෙවියන් වහන්සේගේ ආශිර්වාදය ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමදෙනාටම ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා.
Gammada teams will be travelling to Jaffna, Matale and Kalutara districts on Wednesday with the Peradeniya University.
Litrogas Lanka Limited said that the price of a domestic LP gas cylinder will be reduced by 20 rupees to 300. The price revision is set to take place at midnight on Wednesday. Litrogas Lanka Limited said that the price revision is based on the price formula that was introduced by LP Gas. North Korea has fired a suspected missile over Japan in what appears to be a deliberate escalation to get the attention of Tokyo and Washington.
The ballistic missile traveled about 4,500 kilometers before falling into the Pacific Ocean, far enough to hit the US island of Guam if it took another trajectory. It is the first North Korean missile launched over Japan since 2017. The United Nations prohibits North Korea from testing ballistic and nuclear weapons. Flying missiles towards or over other countries without any pre-warning or consultation also contravenes international norms. Most countries avoid doing it completely as it can easily be mistaken for an attack. While it is not as big as a nuclear test which could be next, it can be considered hugely provocative. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida described the launch as violent behavior, whilst Defense Minister Hamada said Japan would not rule out any options to strengthen its defenses, including counterattack capabilities. The United States National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson called it a dangerous and reckless decision that was destabilizing to the region. The launch comes as Japan, the US and South Korea have been working together to strengthen their defenses in response to the growing threat posed by the North.
Ukrainian forces have broken through Russian defenses in the south of the country while expanding their rapid offensive in the east, seizing back more territory in areas annexed by Russia and threatening the supply lines of its troops.
Making their biggest breakthrough in the south since the war began, Ukrainian forces recaptured several villages in advance along the strategic Dnipro River on Monday, Ukrainian officials and a Russian installed leader in the area said. Ukraine has made significant advances in 2 of the 4 Russian-occupied regions Moscow last week annexed after what it called referendum votes that were denounced by Kiev and Western governments as illegal and coercive. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine's army had seized back towns in a number of areas just hours after a concert on Moscow's Red Square on Friday, where Russia's President Vladimir Putin proclaimed the provinces of Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhia to be Russian territory forever. Ukraine recaptured Lyman, the main Russian bastion in the north of Donetsk province, after this announcement.
And that's a wrap of lunchtime news here on TV1. For more of these stories, you can log on to our website, which is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ruhaza Irfan. Thank you for watching.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන් දත්ත වැඩියෙන් සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කලබන වුවත් සලකුණ News First YouTube channelය අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග